Welcome to the DOL Pod. I'm your host, Alejandro Otero, and today we're exploring how to turn online education into a thriving human community that supports every student's success. Joining us to share insights on building a virtual campus community is Dr. Mariko Carson, Director of Graduate Affairs in Howard University's School of Business, and the Master of Accountancy and the Master of Finance. Could you please tell us a bit about your background?
Yes, I am currently, as you stated, the Director of Graduate Affairs here in Howard University School of Business. Been in this role for slightly under 3 years, with Howard University for about 5 at this point. And my entire career spans various arenas within the higher education system. So first, let me just add that in addition to the Master of Accountancy and Master of Science in Finance, we also offer a Master of Business Administration as well as an online MBA.
Excellent. Thank you. So I think the best place to start would be with these small, unscripted moments that we take for granted in face-to-face learning, but are often very hard to replicate online. In your program and programs you've worked on or with, how do you encourage the hallway factor?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. But what I would say is how we have managed to encourage that hallway factor, as you've indicated, is one of the unique differentiators with Howard University's programs is that we do still have a mandatory in-person orientation for our students. So every graduate student, regardless of the mode in which they intend to study, is expected to spend a week here on Howard University's campus, interfacing with their cohort members as well as other colleagues, our staff and faculty, and even alumni. So by the time that week is over, they have worked together in teams to come up with a solution to a case. And by the time they begin their classes, they are literally have an embedded network. So that is what we have found has really been helpful in promoting that hallway factor and feeling like there is a sense of community within our graduate programs in the School of Business.
How much agency should students have in building their own community platforms versus the institution creating a sort of preset structure for them?
Yeah, so I think that there is a responsibility of the university to ensure that there is a platform that students can opt into, and we do provide those platforms to include. We have Microsoft Teams. All of our students are integrated into the Microsoft system that we use, and then there are platforms within our LMS. But what we have found is that students really like to have autonomy over how they discern which platforms they want to utilize. And so while we do have platforms available to them, we found that they go into actually by the end of orientation, even they have established group chats and they are communicating on a regular basis, whether it's about the classes that they're taking, or this go round we had a group of students from our online programs come back for homecoming and they shared a house. So I think that it's semi-split, but I think that most of that agency ends up becoming organic as the students develop their own sense of community and identify what works best for them.
That's excellent to hear. Because online students are managing typically a heavy personal and professional commitment load, how do we ensure that the virtual campus supports that entire individual rather than just treating them like the name and number on the roster?
We really don't differentiate between our online versus our in-person students. If there is an opportunity, as long as students are eligible, regardless of the format in which they are studying, we promote those opportunities to them and allow them the same opportunities that are afforded to our in-person students. It's very interesting because what we have found is that our online students are very eager to be involved, so much so that we find them kind of heavily concentrated in many of our student organizations, to include our Graduate Business Student Council, which is led by one of our online MBA students. We also have a variety of events over the course of each academic year where students actually come from wherever they are to campus again and interface with us. We have our MBA exclusive every February, where we did have students come in to, engage and network. And then we also believe in meeting students where they are. So, not every student is able to make that trip after orientation up to DC or from wherever they are. So in those instances, when opportunities present themselves, we tend to prioritize integrating those students in various locales to participate, just to ensure that they do still have that sense of community. And we highly encourage, leveraging the alumni network so that they have that additional sense of community in their respective locations and regions.
Leveraging the alumni associations wherever they may be within the country. That's huge as
Absolutely.
well. We've got networks building so people can see that's a possible future path for me. There are people that I'm going to know who respect where my degree is from. That's really great connective tissue for our
Yes.
learners.
Mhm.
Now, on the flip side of that, we have the concern of isolation. That can be a major driver of attrition in online programs. What are, rather, the early warning signs that you might look for in a virtual community that signal that a student's starting to drift away?
Yeah, so on occasion, we will, conduct checks on academic progress within the students' classes for the semester. And, there's a lot of data within our learning management systems that indicate to us, when the last time is that the student was actually in the classroom, how long they were in the classroom for. Additionally, we tend to notice, students who kind of start off very early, very highly engaged, and then that starting to wane tends to be one of those signs for us as well. So in those instances, what we tend to do is we conduct additional outreach just to see if there's anything that is needed. We are a small but mighty program, and I think that what I appreciate about these programs is that there is still that human factor. To your point, we don't see our students as just a name on a roster. We really do value each of our students as individuals and want to ensure that they have the support that they need.
And I think really that also goes to the way that your instructors are interacting with these students during those classes. And I know from working with many professors across Howard's programs that that's pretty integral to the culture here.
I am proud to say that our attrition rate is extremely low. And I think that that really just speaks to the level of support that students feel within this ecosystem.
You did mention the data aspect of how we can monitor to support students. And that begs the question for me about what technology or maybe even just a shift in mindset that you see on the horizon as a potential game changer for virtual campus life.
Yeah, so I'm going to go on and state the obvious here. AI, right? So we know that that is rapidly evolving and becoming more advanced, to the point where it is increasingly difficult to discern what is real and what is not. And so this is why I think that human connection is so important in these times, and why we still kind of adopt a more analog approach to how we interface with our students. We want to maintain that sense of human connection, if you will. I think also with the rapidly evolving technology comes the need for immediate gratification and having things completed in a faster turnaround time. And I think it's really going to be incumbent upon not just Howard University, but institutions across the country and even the world to be able to try to find ways to keep up with the rapid shifts of technology. I think that for virtual campus life specifically, there's always the concern, at least from the instructional standpoint, around, academic integrity. So we have to be a little more innovative as educators and administrators in how education looks It's not, we're not going to be able to remain in the times where, you take a paper-based test and submit it and just, there has to be a shift in how our students are evaluated and assessed to ensure that they actually have achieved the necessary competencies that the course objectives outline.
Absolutely. What practices do you think educators and administrators can adopt to improve these virtual communities and really maintain that human aspect like we've been discussing?
Yeah, certainly. So I think first and foremost, I think we need to really be intentional about embracing emerging technologies within the institutional ecosystem. As I mentioned, it's not going away, so it's incumbent upon us to ensure that we have a clear understanding of how these tools can be utilized and how to maximize their utility in our respective spaces, while also maintaining that sense of human connection. Ensuring that there is a statement or a standard on what responsible use of AI and other technologies is within each of the classrooms. We just actually established ours within the Office of Graduate Affairs. And also just approaching instruction with students from a growth mindset instead of that deficit mindset where, the assumption is, oh, well, you're using ChatGPT, you're cheating. This is a time for reevaluation, in my opinion. And I think that we really need to work to get the buy-in of our instructors, our professors, to understand how to better integrate these tools, these resources into our communities, while again fostering that sense of human community and connection.
Mindful integration of those tools. Very,
Absolutely.
very important. Dr. Carson, I do want to make sure I open it up though before we start to close. Are there any topics I haven't touched on that you think are important to anyone who is preparing to enroll in an online program?
Well, I'm just going to give a shameless plug. If anyone is interested in any of our online programs, please do reach out to us at husbonline@howard.edu. We'd be happy to hear from you. But in general, I think that, some of the points that we touched on today have really been top of mind within our office and within the School of Business more broadly. And I just can't emphasize enough the importance of maintaining an element of that analog component within this evolving space and ensuring that our students do feel that sense of human connection. I know it seems that we are kind of shifting more and more away from that, but I think now is the time to really double down and lean further into the approach of ensuring that our students have some face time and interpersonal communication and interaction so that they're not constantly just leveraging technology for their development.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Carson. It's been a pleasure talking to you today. We really appreciate your time. And to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you for another episode soon.